Hello, everyone. Welcome to Developing Palates. I'm Aaron Loomis, and with me, as always, is Jiunn Liu. How you doing, Jiunn?
Good. Just came back from NOLA.
Nice. Did you have a fun time?
Yeah, man. Ate a lot of seafood that we didn't get to eat last time.
And it's better than in the dead of summer, right?
Yeah, man. When it's wintertime, you don't smell the puke and sewage as much.
Yeah, I think that's probably the better case. So, and I forgot to allude that I'm coming to you from the Ventura Cigar Company studio, so I want to make sure we get that thrown in there. And also, you might see another face here. We want to welcome John Reiner, the cigar surgeon, as he joins Developing Palates officially now.
Say
So, welcome, John.
what? Thanks very much, gentlemen. It's nice to be a part of the illustrious and an elite group. I appreciate the coming on board.
Absolutely. Thank you for joining us. It's been a long process to make this happen, but it looks like it's
Right?
finally done.
Man, Canadians, they just
That's right.
move at a snail's pace, but eventually we get it done.
You have to wine them and dine them.
That's right.
So today we are talking about the Ventura Hugo Chairman Robusto. Cigar is 5.5 inch by 50 ring gauge. Comes out of the Tabacusa factory in Nicaragua. Wrapper is Mexican San Andres. Binder is Brazilian Matafina, and the filters from Nicaragua. Price point is $12, and the cigar was released in July of 2017. So with all that out of the way, Jiunn, what was your flavor experience like?
To me, this was a really like a sweet dessert kind of a smoke for me. I got a ton of a very sweetened milk chocolatey note. And that was really dominant within the entire cigar, and that's what I mainly got out of it. That's kind of a front and center kind of a flavor note. But within that desserty kind of note, less dominant notes of like cedar. In terms of spice, I didn't get much spice with the mouth draws, except that was all within the retrohale. And it wasn't even sharp. It was just like a nice taper white pepper spice. There's some mixed nuttiness. And especially that chocolate note really prevailed within the retro. Finish pretty light, namely a lingering soft cedar note, strength and body medium. So overall, just like I said in the beginning, a very dessert-like, chocolatey, decadent kind of a thing going on. In terms of construction, I rated the burn and draw to be really good. So just one shy of our perfect score. The only downside with the burn was I thought that it was a bit of a wavy burn throughout, but I never had to like touch it up or relight it of any sort. So to me, no big major issues. In terms of the draw, a bit tight, but not a big deal. I smoked for this one two of them, and both were significantly tight, and oddly both kind of opened up towards the middle as well. So again, no real issues.
How about you, John? What was your smoking experience like?
I think my overall experience is pretty similar to June. That San Andreas, that cocoa really comes through. I would echo what he's saying about the spices. There is kind of a, we say spice. I think there's immediately this concept of heat and hot peppers. When I say spice, I'm thinking cinnamon and nutmeg and sweet spices, and they did come through on the retrohale, which was nice. It's a good complement to the cocoa. I think the only other thing that I did get was a little bit of hay now and again. It wasn't very prominent. It was a very subtle flavor. The cedar that kind of came in the post draw was really nice, and again it kind of came and went. I kind of feel like this cigar is one of those cigars where it starts off performing really, really well in the first third and then just kind of wanes as the experience goes on, which is really disappointing because, like I said, when it started out, it's got this really great cocoa, and I was kind of hoping that would just prevail through the entire smoking experience. I didn't have the same draw issues that June did. In fact, I rated the draw as very good. Although the wavy burn issues, I actually needed some touch up, which is a disappointing thing because the ash on this cigar actually, and I remarked on it, it held on so well that I had like 2 inches of ash, and expecting it to drop in my lap. I tried to knock it off several times and it would not come off. And I had that experience several times throughout. But ultimately, when I got past sort of in the middle third of the cigar, there were several points at which I needed to touch up because the sort of wavy burn became almost canoe-like. And it could just be, a one-off, because I got the impression that the construction of the cigar was very good, if not excellent. And I did find in the last third that like I said, the flavor profile kind of fell off, and it got a little bitter, got a little bit of earthiness, and didn't really have the same complexity as when it started.
Yeah, for me, I kind of had like a unique sweet dark wood note. Had a little bit of mellow black pepper going on as well. That was kind of how that first third was. I had a little bit of a kind of a slightly ashy wood note in the retrohale though, and strength was kind of slightly above medium as the cigar kind of was kicking through. That sweetness kind of faded away in that second third, so that dark wood note was kind of what was the primary player there. Black pepper kind of increased a little bit in that second third to equal up with that dark wood note. And then as the second third was kind of coming to a close, that black pepper kind of settled down a little bit. And I got a little bit of dry cocoa powder that was popping in there. And strength kind of went to full medium, well, medium full in that second third. Final third started to get a little harsh for me. A little bit of a bitterness that kind of paired with that wood. Cocoa had completely left the profile. I did a flaming purge to try to get rid of that bitterness and harshness, and a fair amount of that left after the purge. But there was still a little bit, kind of paired in with that wood. I got a little bit of creaminess as the cigar was like really coming to a finish. So that kind of masked a little bit of that harshness there. And the strength kind of remained at that medium full level. For construction wise though, I thought this thing was perfect. Burn was perfectly straight the entire way. Ash was just holding a little over an inch for me before it was dropping off, but I really had no issues with that. And draw was perfect. It had just right amount of resistance that I preferred. So Jiunn, what were your overall thoughts on this cigar?
This is a dessert cigar through and through for me. Sweet, desserty, chocolatey, milky, creamy. If that's your thing, I can't think of many cigars that'll do a better job than this. As for me, this is kind of an interesting one. Sometimes when I think about, all right, what do I really want to? Would I smoke this again, right? And like, how often would I smoke it? I don't really think of this cigar as something where I could say, all right, I'm going to put this on a regular rotation or not. It's so unique on how it delivers such sweetness. And it's also within that, it's not something that I always want to smoke. But when I want to think of a cigar where I'm like, oh, okay, I want something that's just, for the most part, linear, straight to the point, really sweet, without being overly sweet, which that's something I actually really dislike. I know where to go to. Like this perfectly fits the bill of something where I want something that's a really desserty, sweet, not a lot of spice, certainly not a lot of strength at all. In those more rare moments, this is something that I'll pick up.
Nice. What about you, John? What are your overall thoughts on the cigar?
I didn't know the price point of the cigar going in, so my overall impression of the cigar, I mean, again, construction aside, which I think construction was excellent. So you're getting the value out of the build of the cigar, but the flavor profile for me was a bit disappointing. It was kind of an average experience, and taking the price point aside, I think it's well placed to be a good mass market cigar because I think, as Jiunn was saying, the complexity is there in the beginning and it's not overwhelming. So I think for a lot of cigar smokers who are looking for something in the sort of medium-ish category and looking for some complexity, but are maybe scared of cigars that are really intense or really spicy or really intense on the sweetness or cocoa, and that's not really this cigar at all. It kind of treads or sticks its toes in the waters of each of those flavor profiles without really being too intense. I think I'm reminded that there was some pepper to start out with. I've got it in my notes that I forgot to mention, but overall, it's a very approachable cigar. At a $12 price point, that might be a little bit of a tough sell for a lot of B&Ms unless the flavor profile was dialed up. It's not really something I would pick up on a regular rotation. It just, for me personally, I'm looking, if I'm going to, especially at the $12 price point, I'm looking for something that's got a lot more going on.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that the kind of sweet wood note that I got in that first third was pretty interesting. So I was kind of hoping that to go on a little bit more, but getting into that second third, just kind of a little bit, standard profile. Got a little bit of wood and cocoa going on in that second third, but then that final third kind of just fell off too far for me. It was nice the construction level on this because you don't have to pay any attention to it really, unless you get really anal about the burn line. But I think other than that, you could probably let it go and not really have too many issues with that. I'm interested in trying this maybe in another Vitola just to kind of see if maybe that flavor profile will last a little bit longer. I don't know. Sometimes the Robusto size can I don't know, just there's something about that just you look for something a little bit larger, a little bit smaller, or something like that. But I think there's a Toro and Torpedo that they have for this. I think if you can dodge that kind of harsh finale that I got, it'd be something that would be, something I'd go back to a little bit more. I might smoke another one here or there. And John, you're the pairing expert, but spicy bourbon with this, would that be something that would work out? I mean, it seems like that might be a good pairing, at least for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd have to be careful here because that cocoa is not super intense. I mean, if it was San Andreas and the wrapper, maybe that'd be super intense. But because it's so subdued, I think I'm thinking something like a Four Roses, something that's got a little bit of bourbon spice, but something that's not really in your face.
Sure.
I agree with you. I think that'd be a great compliment for this. You could probably get into a nice bourbon whiskey with this because, most of the whiskeys that do bourbon age aren't going to be super bourbon intense. And, maybe, I don't know. I'm thinking about beers and, you'd have to be really careful because there's so many beers that might run the profile right over. So maybe just a run of the mill, nice balanced ale might be a way to go.
Sure. So getting into the scores, I gave it a 5.75. John, you gave it a 5.95, and Jiunn, you gave it a 6.92. So Jiunn, how do you think that matched up with your experience?
It matches all. I think construction definitely helped this one. If I were to talk about purely tasting note, I wouldn't think that it'll hit so high in the sixes, which is why I said the construction really helped aid it to that part. But yeah, I mean, good cigar, unique cigar. I'll smoke it again, so that's a good cigar for me.
How did it work out for you, John?
I think it's definitely a cigar that sits in the 5-point range. And, listening to the score, I agree with you. And I think, you can't really devalue that. Like you said, you can smoke the cigar and you don't really have to worry about it. The wavy burn aside, the construction was excellent. This is a cigar that performs really well. There was no flaws in the wrapper. Clearly it's rolled correctly and the band is good to look. And I had no issues at all with the draw. It was an ideal draw. So I think that helped the score. But for me, if you took all of that stuff away, it's really a perfect example of what a 5.5 rating cigar is. It's not a bad cigar. It's an average cigar that I think a lot of the mass market people are really going to enjoy, but doesn't really sort of push that envelope of top 25 of the year or something that we're going to be talking about months down the road.
Yeah, I'm following right up with you said, John. I scored it kind of, overall it's average in regards to flavor. Construction was super fantastic, so that's what held it up. But I think, overall it's an average flavor profile. It may do well. Like you mentioned earlier, the price point might be a little tough for some people to get through. But just depending on what flavor profile people enjoy, it may be something that really hits for them. So they might get a lot of enjoyment out of that. Any other final thoughts from any of you guys on this cigar?
So like John, I didn't know that this cigar was $12 until you said it earlier. Right. So for me, $12 is really hard to sell. I think like it needs two more things that this cigar didn't do for me. It needs spice. It needs more body, right? Like when I think about $12 cigars, I think about I mainly honestly think about guys that either want to the Davidoff guys, right? The kind of what I call them, status / guys that want to wave their cigar around in the band around, or guys that really appreciate really good cigars, right? Like us. Or I think about like the Liga 9 fans, especially from back in the days, where they will rave about it. They'll pay 12 plus on those Liga 9s and T52s, and it's not that. So this cigar needs to elevate it, and I think in the mainly realms of like spice, body, and I would also say with that a little bit more kicked up strength. I mean, not many of the like, stereotypical, especially American smokers that go to the B&M are gonna pick up something like this for $12. So you gotta like really substantiate it, and it's not quite there yet. Another thing I want to talk about is in terms of pairing. I know, John, like you have way more experience in pairing than I do, but for the most part, I think you pair likeness with likeness, right? Like, well, something like this, I would totally go like 90 proof, like a wheater, right? Like a wheated bourbon. Something that's cast strength, I think will really lose out on that, especially that milk chocolatey note that I love so much with the cigar. So.
Any other final thoughts from you, John?
Yeah, I think, again, I mean, maybe it's a marketing positioning thing. Obviously they're marketing this as being a premium statement cigar and maybe a lifestyle cigar, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do think that it might be a bit of a, once you go over that $10 price point, really $10.95 price point for a B&M, you really have to count on the tobacconist to make that sale. So, I think they might have the work cut out for them to do some education, maybe do some events so that people have a chance to try this. I absolutely think this is a good option for people who are looking to make that jump from their everyday cigar that's $7 or $8 and just kind of fairly pedestrian in terms of flavor profile, and this might be a great gateway into this sort of more boutique cigars without blowing their palate up. It's just again that price point, and we don't talk at length about it, but if you don't come to the table with an incredibly complex profile or some a lot of strength, like Jiunn was saying, there's something missing, and you need that something. Maybe it performs much better in another Vitola. I'd be certainly welcome to try it out in another Vitola and see if maybe the Robusto is not the sweet spot.
Yep, exactly. And as a little bit of a celebration for John joining us, we're going to be doing a contest as part of this review. So go to the website, developingpalates.com, and you can enter for a week after this review goes up. We're going to give away a 10-pack of these cigars in the original box. So it gives you a chance to get some of these cigars and try them out. So thank you for tuning in. Make sure you follow us on all the social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Google+. And you can catch all of our review recaps on podcast, iTunes, Google Play, and Podbean. Thank you for tuning in, and we will catch you all on the next one.